1, 2, 3, 4.
1 2 1 2 1 2 1 2 1 2. You're listening to 1 2 1 2. You are listening to the Online Time Fame Podcast. Online Time Fame Podcast. I'm your host, JD, and today's show is talking about community development. So, we've had a few shows so far, and this is almost an impromptu show, just, so we can have one that is beneficial to the listener and talks about starting businesses. So our people, our partners, they made a way where people can start businesses for free. A free way to set yourself up. Start a business. You have to invest in yourself, obviously, and it'll give you a way to strive to have extra income or whatever you choose to do. Have an initial career. So we have a nonprofit. It's called Empowerment for the People, and the inspiration for this is Tupac Shakur. Tupac Shakur's song, recorded in 1992, released October 28th, 1993. The name of the song is Keep Your Head Up. I'm sure a lot of y'all remember that. It had a music video to go with it. Song dedicated to the black woman, the so-called black woman, but also to all women, but especially to the black woman. And, so Tupac is interpreted so many different ways. And people say what Tupac meant to them. And he had, genuine love from people in the street, even today, all over the world, like no other artist, all over the world. See, a lot of artists say, I'm the new Pac. They're one-dimensional, though. They're not loved all over the world. And they didn't have the community activism within their actions and character. So we're talking about actions because on one of the other previous episodes, we talked about how there were 3 factors in how we conduct ourselves in public spaces and online. Too many times online, people use the N-word in front of everybody. Because one thing about online, we never know who's listening. We're being observed, but we don't know who's doing the observing. So that's always a negative position to put oneself in. Secondly, a lot of people talk online. It's just entertainment. They're just trying to create content. But what's the quality of the content if it has to be negative? Now, movies or whatever, not to say a movie is positive. There may be a hidden message in a movie. Just like in a so-called gangster movie, the message may be, don't do this. That's what the message is. Usually because that so-called gangster doesn't make it or is killed at the end. Or you have another in a situation where you'll have a film where the people that, even though the so-called villain may live, other people who are important may have lost their lives or were injured and lost something. So, there's still, a moral message inside stuff. But as far as Pac was multidimensional because he could have the positive record, the negative record. Of course, there's tapes where Pac said make music for the females because the females is going to buy the record, or they're going to buy your record and your music, and the males is going to want what the females want. Yes, he did use that formula, but coming from a household where his parents, his family were active in the Black Power movement, his late mother, Afeni Shakur, her being a Black Panther Party member, active, administrator in the Black Panther Party office in Brooklyn, Harlem. She was very instrumental, articulate, defended herself pro se against New York State, went to court, won her trial. It was called the Panther 21, and she was, and she was pregnant at the time in 1971 with Tupac. So, he was in a jail cell before he even hit the outside world, in the name of revolution at the time. So, when you talk about Pac in this song, as I said, all of the multiple layers of Tupac's music is what makes him able to transcend different decades and eras, because some people, they fade and we don't hear about them no more. But, because of his work rate, work ethic, he was larger than life. And then he had dimensions where he did reach out. Just like this song, at the time this song came out, there was no other song of its kind in hip hop that this was exactly the way it was. There's been dedication records, of course. Before that, there was a song by a rap group from Brooklyn called named Houdini, and they had a song called Early Mother's Day Card. So, it's not like this the only, and R&B had many songs, and there were others in rap that had songs for women. But this song, the way it hit, the energy that could be felt from Keep Your Head Up was just different. It was different. It was introspective. Tupac he was vulnerable. And as I said, in the early parts of his career, it was just a song that was more than a song, because also this song was a call to action. So when we say that the organization that our people put together for people, that's why it's called Empowerment for the People. And it's http://www.empowermentforthepeople.org, or you can just get it at the regular https:// the part like that, www.empowermentforthepeople.com. So you can get it that way too. Sometimes the .org acts funny if you don't put the right http:// If you put that, it'll go to the .org. You can just put www and go to the empowermenttothepeople.com, and it'll take you to the same place, and you can get it. So the point is, when it's talking about something, it's talking about helping people, not just the foundation that you use as a tax break, but to change communities. That's what Pac came from, because even though people know what the Black Panther Party was about, they were one of the first organizations in the United States, out of all organizations, when you saw like the emergence of programs for children, and free breakfast program was started by the Black Panther Party. So now they have free breakfast programs at schools in the morning for children. That was a product that came to the public schools. That was a product of the Black Panther Party. So they also had community clinics. You know how you see these neighborhood doctor walk-in clinics where you can go somewhere, and then now they take insurance and you don't need an appointment. You can just go to a doctor, but it's those little clinics in the neighborhood. And the point is, the Black Panthers had community health clinics in the 60s. They were one of the first. There weren't community. You either had to go to the hospital, your doctor's office, and then so the Panthers had health clinics with volunteer medical doctors and nurses that were helping, because women needed, and people who didn't have funds needed care. So my point is, for Tupac to make a song like Keep Your Head Up, that was part of the activism that he was brought up in. Because if you want to sell music and stuff like that, yes, it has to be some bravado involved, and it has to be some sensationalism. So hip hop, and it's a vehicle that could be a lot of things. It could be part real, part acting. It was entertainment, of course. But when it came to this song, and then the impact that the song had, because of what it said. See, when people talk about I'm this and I'm that, I'm the new Pac. Well, Pac in what way? Multidimensional? See, so my point is, the proof is in the pudding. Not about, violence and hurting people. But when you look at even Pac from the first line of the song, some say the blacker the berry, the sweeter the juice. I say the darker the flesh, then the deeper the roots. Right there for Pac. That opening line, and and then music executives will tell you it's very important with the first, even for the music, they even say it's important for the music to be great in the beginning for a potential song for artists out there. But also the lyric. The first lyric is just like if you're writing a letter. The first lines of that letter, you want to get the attention of who you're writing that letter to. And the same is with this song. So when Pac goes on to say, I give a holler to my sisters on welfare, Tupac cares if don't nobody else care. So that right there set the tone for the song. And from there, it's just, a brilliant, masterful song that's timeless. And it's a classic. So, we spoke on this in another episode. and read off some lines from Pac, because the conditions and the environment of the community at that time was more community based, more unity based, coming from the civil rights movement, coming to the Black Power movement, because the civil rights movement had formally ended through the assassination of Malcolm X in 1965, and then the assassination of Dr. Martin Luther King in 1968, not even counting the countless other assassinations of leaders and like Medgar Evers. It was just the whole wave of consciousness, and the environment was very tense, and it was seriousness involved. And that's when Marvin Gaye, he had the song that we talked about, that what's going on, that was inspired from the riot at University of California, Berkeley. So but beyond that, like I said, to go to when Pac even referenced Marvin Gaye in this same song, when he said, "Yo, I remember Marvin Gaye used to sing to me, had me feeling like black was the thing to be, and suddenly the ghetto didn't seem so tough. Although we had it rough, we always had enough." So that right there was the sentiment tying into Marvin Gaye's "What's Going On," because What's Going On was also Marvin Gaye's brother, who had been to the Vietnam War, and he had explained what he went through with Marvin, and Marvin, remembering and just thinking about the horrors that his brother had experienced in Vietnam. And came back home and had to deal, and that's why when he was like, "Well, what's going on?" and his brother told him this was going on in Vietnam, and even with the co-writer of the song, "What's Going On," and what inspired him to write the song and bring it to Marvin, like, "Marvin, you got to sing this," and we talked about it in the previous episode. So when you talk about this song, also another probably the most important line of this song, the inspirational line of "Keep Your Head Up," for myself, was just like it was unexpected, and as I said, when a song is made by an artist, there's got to be some theater to it. When people say, "I keep it real," then you find out that this individual who's rhyming is just a great writer. And that's nothing wrong with that, but as far as, and then, even like early on from the TV show Law and Order, the actor Ice-T, one time he said he couldn't make a song talking about killing 1,000 people, because that's not the life he lived. And that's why the streets respected him, because he told stories, but he told from different perspectives, of course, but he never portrayed himself as this ultimate gangster. So with Pac, with "Keep Your Head Up," when he says, so will the real men get up? I know you're fed up, ladies, but keep your head up. That was almost like a call to action, because, it's like when a rap song says "you," or "I'll do this to you," even though they're not talking to us. The listener is saying, "Well, who are you talking to? What do you mean, you?" And this is why a lot of artists used to have problems when they visited and went on tour, because people are making these statements in the record, and the people aren't looking at it like, "Man, this is entertainment." They're saying, "What did you say? When I see you, I'm going to see if you got that look on your face, like maybe you're talking to everybody." And the conflicts, arose from those types of lyrics. So with this lyric for Tupac, it could be just to sell records. There was a time when artists used to make music, love songs, to appeal to women to buy the song. That's not necessarily what they meant, but they just said it as an artist. But in this situation, for Pac to say, "So will the real men get up? I know you're fed up, ladies, keep your head up." That one line, "So will the real men get up?" Men, MEN, will the real men get up? So it's like, well, Pac, who are you saying? What makes somebody real? What do you get up, and what you mean? So obviously, you hear that song tomorrow, you're gonna say, "Will the real man get up?" So for ourselves and for our people, that's why they started the empowermentforthepeople.com.org. That's why they started the organization, to help, obviously, focus on so-called black women, because with all this tension between men and women in relationships, and it's almost like there had been a war. That war is over because we know what the parameters of the differences were and what people want to do. Some people, don't always articulate what their intentions are when they get with people, and the intention of today's people, women, and men is different from what it was in the 1950s and 60s. The traditionalism that once existed isn't mainstream media. It isn't promoted in the mainstream no more. Now it's promoted as everybody does whatever they want to do, for the most part. So, for the song to say Tupac's 1993 record, so will the real man get up? I'm like, man, what is he saying? My people are like, well, my people are like, all right, I got it. So a solution had to be created to help our sisters, because from that song, and this was for years. This song just bothered all of us. Like, you hear that, man? Pac talking about real. We're real. See, every man isn't a male. Every male is not a man. Biologically, they're a male, but that doesn't mean they're a man, which is man is the mind state and the elevated capacity containing wisdom and responsibility. That's a man. Every man is a male, meaning that man is in a male body, but every male ain't no man. There's a difference between a man and a male, period. But, most people, when you hear them online, you hear them somewhere, they use the word simultaneously, interchangeably, They use the word as one, like they're synonymous in the same thing, and they're not. And I'm talking about 90% of the people make this mistake when they say these men. And I'm like, whoa, wait a minute, sister, that ain't no man. You got with a male, an adult male, adult male human. That's who you was with. So don't blame these men. You never had a man. You may not have ever known a man, which is the same for men can say the same thing. Yeah, my people, my man's in them, my man. No, he ain't no man. He's an adult male. He's old. So, we assume someone old would be a man, but that's just an old male. Every old person ain't no elder. You may be the age of an elder, but their actions and wisdom don't reflect an elder. They're just old. You just the old person with respect. So anyway, when we go back to keep your head up, and that one line when Pac said, will the real man stand up? Will the real man get up? What? Man. So the point is, with empowerment for the people, the empowerment is showing people for free how to start a business. And others have said this. I've heard people say this. And you want to do 3 things to start a business. And this was going to be for very inexpensive, depending on how you want to approach it. But this is what a lot of sisters can do to try and, because we also have to, and as I said, at the website, the full instructions are there. So when you go to empowermentforthepeople.com, it's there, free. That's the key. It's free. So, we're all going to do what we do within ourselves for other ventures. But something that's given back to the people, that's that. And, it goes a little further, but we'll say it like this. The 3 components to starting a business to become successful. Get a separate phone. You're going to need a phone. So, if you're not going to be serious, don't get a separate line on your phone. No, get a whole different phone. That's a business phone. Get another phone so you can freely take calls on your other phone that's business related. This ain't your personal number. This ain't your friends. This is your business contact. If you have to talk to a company or someone like that, they can get you on that phone. Just don't overflood your main phone with business by having a separate line on that phone, and then have a separate business phone where you can have a little more autonomy in what you do. It's separate. It don't have to always be on all the time. You may say, I ain't working. I work 9 to 5. And so you can put that phone away at 5 o'clock. I'm not answering it because that's your business phone. See, and when you come back for business hours, right there. Secondly, And the first thing you should do when you get the phone, before you activate it, or excuse me, get this first. Or, well, they'll both have to be done differently, depending on which service you use. But you're going to need and you can get the phone first. I'm wrong. You can get the phone. Decide which one you want to get, which affordable for you, because you're going to have to pay that monthly bill. So don't just play. This ain't nothing to play with, but it's still a phone. It's not, you can do economically, there's ways where you can get one affordable. Secondly, you're going to get an email account for a business, because you're going to write people. There was a time when people wrote more physical letters, what they call snail mail. You wrote a physical letter, you typed it out on the computer, you printed it out, you put it in an envelope, and it's obviously people still do this. It's still effective. You make a letter and you mail it to somebody. If that's, business related, you can write your letters. But this is also the thing too. With that email account, you're going to register social media accounts. So you're probably going to get, let's say, 3 of the major social medias, because the more social medias, get as many as you can get, but it's not any wrong way to do it. But you may say, I want these 3, maybe get them all, as many as you can. You may have 5, 7 social media accounts, but then that's going to be some work, because you got to maintain those accounts. You got to, have activity. So that's another, you can figure that out. So the 3 components you're going to have is a cell phone, an email account, and then social media accounts. And the key is to have all of these things in the same name. Try to get as close as you can. Pick a name that all your social media's got the same name. That's your company name. What your company is and what you're doing business as, that's the name of it right there. So your email, even though that email might be taken of that same name, it might not. And that's just a common email, because that won't be your email. That's like a company email formally. To get a formal email, like, info at, and whatever that name is, that's sometimes they charge you for that email. But if it comes with a website, that's another thing. Also, are you going to have a website? And there's ways to do that. And if you figure out how to get a website too, because as you see, it's empowermentforthepeople.com. And as I said, if you put it as http://www.empowermentforthepeople.org, that's what, it's a nonprofit, so to speak, but we're not 501c right now, because it's grassroots, and we ain't really tripping, because it's something we're giving back, and we financed it ourselves. We paid for it. We upkeep the our people. They, all of it, us meaning we do it, and so we got that. But the point is, so when you got the social media, you got the phone number, you got the email, and then what's the key component? What are you doing? What is the business? That's where we come in. The business that we conceived, our people, over at empowermentforthepeople.com and empowermentforthepeople.org. What they came up with was, as a matter of fact, check this out. They don't have social media like that. Their social media is going through this, the Online Time Fame podcast. They're going through us. So when you go to the Online Time Fame social media, there's a link for them there, because it's like I said, it ain't no big deal. They got a website, so they ain't tripping on social media. They have a website itself, empowermentforthepeople.com. So they ain't really tripping on social media like that. And we got the social media. We will just let them come through and use ours, and they can just have it, because all they doing is linking it. They can put some of their stuff on there too. But as I said, they have a dedicated website to do what they got to do, and then that's where you get the full breakdown of the information of what to do. It's there. So further as we explain it though, what's the business? What business can you start? So it was our contention, that they said the easiest, as they tell us, the easiest business somebody can start from the inner city is a fitness business. That's what you do. That I'm like, oh, that makes sense. They like start the fitness business, because if you're looking at fitness business, some people, now this is funny. As you look at Instagram, you look at Twitter, there's a lot of what they call social media influencers. So also they got fitness influencers, and fitness influencers is a whole nother thing from a certified personal trainer or fitness trainer, but they're all in that same realm. They're all in that same family, because the fitness and health industry is $1 billion industry. The weight loss, weight gain, fitness, that's $1 billion industry. So they're not, so there's somewhere you can find a way within that realm that you can prosper, and then you can elevate from there to something else. You can put that, and combine fitness or some type of health related of what you do into something else. Because when you look at our sisters and our people in inner cities and the poor, the working class, everywhere, all over, in mountainous towns, in inner cities, their health is bad. Bad diet. And a lot of people say, well, I live in a food desert. A food desert is a place where you can't find healthy foods. But one has to learn how to say, well, all right, you know what? And this is not please do not, this is not intended to be medical advice. But people got to say, well, I got to eat clean and eat as good as possible. I might not be able to eat, everything I want that's healthy, but, don't eat so many Cheetos and Doritos. And because, see, there's two things about food. Some people have an emotional tie to food, which can be, be other issues, psychological issues. And, but food is really for nutrition. And it's difficult to say something is nutritious and it don't taste good. You want it to taste good. But a lot of foods we eat, just like, remember when we were children and we said, man, I don't like those vegetables, and parent would be like, you gonna eat those carrots, you eating those greens, you gonna eat that this cereal, you gonna eat that oatmeal, you gonna eat this raisin, you know what I'm saying? So sometimes when you don't have a lot of economics, you have to eat more healthy food. That's what a lot of people, we came up eating beans, just more closer to unprocessed foods. And of course, it may not have been the best, but it was, it was better than processed food that was cheap. It was beans, it was potatoes, because people had big families and their families had to eat basics. But those basics ended up being at least closer to its original form of what that food was. And it, it has some measure of nutritional value. So when we look at our people, when we look at our so-called black women, some of the it's on the, you can see it on the website, but we don't want to emphasize too far of obesity issues of all of our people, male and female. In the USA as a whole is one of the most overweight countries, if not the most overweight and obese countries in the world. So if you're talking about for so-called black women, you look at the statistics and you look at the data and you look at the highest causes of death, and you look at heart disease, hypertension, high blood pressure, and diabetes. So-called black women lead. They have astronomically high statistics, high percentages in these areas. And, but all people have bad percentages in those areas. But just look at the data on women. When you talk about maternal health and just problems with childbirth and just everything, it's their health issues that nutrition can only help. It's not saying it's the only solution, because there's other factors. There's external factors, but let the internal factor, there's external factors to the problems, but let the internal factors be a solution to problems. So well health is wealth. So work out. And this is a funny thing. When it comes to exercise and fitness, for some of the most successful trainers, physical trainers you see, is people with the before and after story. So if someone says right now, man, I can't be no trainer, I'm overweight. I say, yeah, But you take some pictures while you're overweight. You dedicate yourself for 6 weeks to just exercising and eating better, selecting and being careful of your intake, your fat intake, your carbohydrate, and you just do research. You have to do some research and study and read of how to do this. You have to get some medical research. You have to get as good a source as available of what to read and what to know. So just those are the stories that people relate to, the before and after, when they can say, because there's a lot of people, they've been in shape all their life, and then they jump up and they got great genetics, and they were on the sports teams, and then they're out here jumping out like, oh, I'm a trainer, bro, and I can show you how to. You already got the excellent genetics. You never had to do nothing, and you can eat anything you want, and you still look good. There's females like that. They already had the physique. They put on some outfit, workout clothes, and then the regular people are like, I don't look nothing like that. But you can make improvements. It's medically proven that exercise and diet can change one's physique, period. One's health will get better, period. Chronic illnesses that are health, many of them can be altered through health. So that's just something that, as I said, is, just to go get what happens is we see a lot of people, they got a website. They got their social media. They're on Instagram. They're at the gym. They're training. So we're not saying it's going to be 100 million. It's thousands of people doing that online. So what sets you apart? If you just, and this goes deeper than just being a fitness influencer. Fitness influencer can go a lot of directions. You can do a lot of things with that. And as I said, if you got a job already and you start doing this part-time, you can't lose. You get your outfits up together. You get you find some nice stuff, some sneakers, and find sales and shop around and just center your life around a health lifestyle, because that's going to benefit you for other things you do. So that's what that is. It ain't just saying you're going to make have a successful business itself. You also investing in yourself. But then what you're going to do is you're going to become an example to the community, because people are going to see you and they're going to say, hey, what's up? You work out? You're going to look like it. And people are going to see you and you're going to look healthy, and you're going to work yourself into shape, and you're going to be an example for others. You ain't got to be, on a way where you don't have to be. And this is a funny thing. And it ain't supposed to be funny, but it is funny that someone who is overweight can only save economics by not eating so much. If you have body fat, the purpose of body fat is to store energy of times when one cannot get food. That's what fat is for. It's like a storage system for the body. It's because if someone can't get to food, the body taps into the fat reserves and for energy. So a lot of people got a lot of energy. They could live if they had the discipline. And I'm not giving the advice to do this medically without the consultation with a qualified, certified medical professional. So that's what has to be done as well. But what I'm saying is, a lot of people are saying, oh man, I'm hungry, I ain't ate, but they're obese. Dude, you could drink water on a stranded desert island. On a stranded island, you could drink water at the high body fat rate they have, the obesity, the overweight state that this individual is in. They can drink water for 2 months and all they would do is lose weight. They wouldn't die. Somebody skinny who ain't got a lot of body fat or even muscle, because without nutrition, the body burns muscle before it burns fat. So they shrink up too. But my point is, people think they don't have, they need all this economics to be in shape. I'm like, no, you just eat a salad. A salad is going to cost you between $1.50 and $3, a nice container. That's lunch right there. And just what I'm saying is, it's much less expensive to lose weight than, say, for those that want to bulk up and gain muscle. That's going to cost, because you're going to have to buy protein, and that protein can be in different forms. It can be peanut butter. It can be, a lot of things. Meat is super expensive, and we all know that. that's going to cost. Because when you talk about weightlifting and muscle gain, you're going to need energy for the workout. Whereas if somebody was working out and they're overweight or obese, your energy going to come from their body fat. Your body going to tap into that body fat for the energy part. If you're talking about building muscle, you're still going to need protein. But as I said, you do the research, and we'll get some info on that too, where you can get but just what you read and what you know and what you study. Health and the pursuit of health is a lifelong journey of studying and learning. Even one who is an expert is always learning in health. Exercise, resistance training, and weightlifting improves bone density. So nowadays, older people, senior citizens, and those are told to exercise to strengthen their bones. Because when people get older, they fall down, they break their hips. That's what happened to a lot of elders. So people have to stay active and exercise to sustain and maintain health. So, as I said, with empowermentforthepeople.com, empowerment for the people, as a .org, what the aim is to focus on something easy. Because people say, well, I don't got no funds to start this business or that business. That's a business. Now, are you going to get people? This is the part that is difficult, but it's simple at the same time. People go by results. If they see you and you looking good, they're going to say, what you do? How'd you do that? Maybe you can train me. And training is hard, and there's a lot of politics that go with it, because sometimes people say they want you to train them and they ain't going to do what's needed to be done. Maybe they just want to talk to you and act like they working out. There's people who go and do that. It's what kind of clients you going to get. You going to get out of shape people who don't have economics to pay, or you going to get upper scale clients who really, they're going to stay on point anyway. You got this housewife and her husband is making 7 figures a year. She got to stay in shape. She got to look good. So she in there training and being serious. You got people from all different levels in the fitness realm. So from where we're coming from, this ain't costing us anything like that, because it's for the people. So it's like, here, this is how you get in shape. This is how you start your business. That's us giving back. That's us as our response to Tupac Shakur's call to action of standing up. Here it is. This is the brother, what he would do. Boom. That's what you get. You come on and train and get in shape. We don't have to be spoken to. They don't got to say nothing to us. You go to the site, you get the information, and you're gone. You go out and do your own research, and then we did our part from a distance, without no interaction with the people as they get the information. So we're going to do something else. We have other endeavors, just like we're suggesting to you. We do stuff. We strive to do that. So we ain't got to even, that's just something we do. Like most people, they make all their economics and then they come up with some nonprofit or there's some kind of foundation that they have to give back to the people. We giving it back to the people on the street level. So just imagine what we would be giving back and what we would be doing with major levels of economics. And we didn't have to go to no company. People didn't have to say, hey, man, I'm going to go over to this company and try to see if they can put up this funds. Nah, we just took an idea. That's why we always say here on Online Time Fame, we always say that you can go from small-minded thinking, which is talking about people, which can be productive in a media format. Because, controversy sells. So when people have these fake beefs or, hey, we going to act like we don't like each other, there's people doing that behind the scenes. There's people who don't like each other and people tuning in to see what they say. So that's what they do. We don't want no parts of that. We rather not do it. We don't want to be public. We ain't no public figure. We're on the street. We're in the street. So we're seen, but we ain't really an online presence like that. We ain't famous. We ain't seeking no fame. Online time fame pertains to those who have gotten their fame online, where it used to be people got their fame from the traditional outlets, the record industry, radio, and they were radio personalities, or television. And those television stations back then were ABC, NBC, and CBS, and then they had cable from there. See, so now it's a whole different round, what they call digital media or new media. People get famous from being online, social media. It's online time fame. They got online, and from that time they're online, they became famous. So that's why it's online time fame, and that's what they got. And you can, that's where you can really, see the differences. But as I said, just for something to help the people and get people and to be able to elevate and advance their lives. And they say, well, man, I want to be able to start a business. I don't know what to do. And then people are going to say, hey, how do I get in shape when, I don't have a lot of funds and I can't afford to go to a gym? We could say this: Planet Fitness is $15 a month. So, all right, what if you don't have $15 a month? What if you don't have a babysitter? What if you can't leave your child nowhere to work out? You can work out wherever you stay. Can you go somewhere and do 10 push-ups a day? Can you start out with 10? Can you do that? Can you do 20 toe touches a day? Can you stretch somewhere? This might be at work. It might be on the street. It might be anywhere. Is there somewhere that you are, wherever you are, can you do some exercises right there? And it's at the least level, and it may be a calisthenic workout at first. It may not be weights and training in a full-fledged program that you have the ability to facilitate. You might not have that. But if you just could say, well, I'm going to just watch my diet, because Arnold Schwarzenegger once said bodybuilding was 80% diet. This bodybuilding is 80% food. So maybe you can get on your food, and then you can, maybe I don't eat as much, and then you want to still do some exercise. But a lot of people used to lose weight by just not eating. So they were a little, flabby when they lost the weight and the skin wasn't tight, but they just lost it by everyday activity, walking around at wherever they were. And, it could be walking. If you walking, because the physique is going to be the reflection of what people see. See, some people, that's what we are now with in the so-called social media era. And it's always been this way since the early days of surgery. Back in the day, plastic surgery and these procedures aren't new, because that's what actors used to get in Hollywood so they could sustain their careers. So people had plastic surgery and stuff so they could keep getting roles. And then the regular everyday people, caught on to it later, and they started getting plastic surgeries. But, initially that was for, obviously cosmetic purposes. But the point is, you got a lot of people in the weightlifting, in the training, in the professional sports especially, they use enhancement drugs. So they want to look a certain way. You got people online and they taking stuff, supplements to, and it might be what they call performance enhancing drugs, what we call them performance enhancing supplementation, because it's so scientifically advanced. It ain't just your common steroid all the time. And they taking stuff, and then when you ask them, nah, man, I don't take nothing. You know what I'm saying? Because it's illegal now anyway. They're federally scheduled drugs that are illegal, so-called steroids now. But it's a bunch of other stuff that people take depending on their levels, the budget level. But one don't have to take that. You just have to work hard, and you're reflecting your own unique physique. You're going to project your own physique and your own genetic structure, what makes you emphasize certain parts of your physique based on your own genetics and your own environmental capabilities, your own ability to work out a certain way. I have this weight set at my house. I focus on this real easy. And then I also do some stuff that's focusing on my weaknesses. So I do this. But for the sisters, the point is this too. What made, and I was proud that my people came up with this idea, which made it so revolutionary, because this is bringing sisters off the stripper pole. Forget all that. If you're talking about image of a people, an image of a people, of how we are presented to the world. Nah, well, and then as you see people saying, oh, well, stripper pole is athleticism. Well, that comes from the gymnastics pole, gymnastics. So there can be some elements of physicality involved, but if it was in private, but if you stripping up there to pay your rent and swinging around on these poles, that was just a product of the drug era. And dudes coming in the era throwing all that cash around. But look at the imagery presented as a stripper, a.k.a. an exotic dancer. A sister could be a fitness trainer and get the same attention, you see. And then you make it a business. And it ain't got no sexual, it ain't sexual. It's, it's physical fitness and it's professional as well. But the reputation, we talking reputation here. So the reputation and the image of someone who's a fitness trainer, when you look at them sisters that's running track and field, they got on some little tight shorts. They got on a little tight shirt. But that's in track and field is a positive sanction and a positive image. Even though, yes, it's true, and it may seem unfair that the clothes are similar, it's a different imagery. A stripper is closer related to a prostitute, the imagery. Because it's what it's called formally, if you want to even get the formal name, it's called a sex trade worker. A sex trade worker. It don't mean they sell sex, but it's still part of the sex trade. So that's categorized within the sex trade worker realm. So when people say exotic dancer, I'm like, well, all right, you can say that. But we all know that if you, especially when you go to certain states and this woman is straight naked and they, swinging up and, so it's like I said, this is imagery, and what we have our children seeing and our little girls and boys seeing. It can be fitness. You can still wear some spandex and something tight, and that's the same, it's the imagery is still more positive, and it's a business and it's health related, so anyway, so that's a whole nother discussion. So not to put down anyone, no offense intended, to say nobody is doing something bad if they are doing what they got to do to pay their bills, and it's a free country, and it's a legal occupation for them to be a so-called stripper, a exotic dancer, or whatever. But as we evolve in time, and what's, looking at something can be done into the 40s, 50s, and when you're in your 60s till retirement, you could be into fitness and a fitness trainer. You see, when so that's the positive benefit of this, and our positive imagery of a people. And then you can make a lot, because it's still just like the so-called sex trade. The fitness industry is still $1 billion industry. So that's, we're simplifying what can be done, because the possibilities are infinite. But one other part of that we want to talk about is and explain, as I said, the website, empowerment for the people, for empowermentforthepeople.com. Go there and you're going to get the full 1212. The information, it's all what we said pretty much is there for free. And you don't have to even pay for that. So that's, so we don't need no contact with that. If that's what you don't have to even talk to us. You get that information. You don't have to send my people no emails or nothing. Boom, get that information, and it's on you. So it's yours. You did, that's the brilliance of what they did by coming up with that idea for a business. You need those three components. You need a social media presence that you all have the same name. All your social media, pick a name that you can get them all under the same name. And if it's impossible, and that's the name of your company, think carefully of the name you're going to make your company, and it's all going to be the same. And you're going to keep building from that. But as a further breakdown of some science and, some more information just to show that my people were serious, what they did was they also put out an ebook for that. They got an ebook available on Amazon called Unlock the Physical Fitness Expert Within You. 3 easy steps to start a digital fitness influencer business and change your life. That's the name of the book. And as I said, now the book is, they charging, it's $2.99. That's the cheapest level. They'll let you put an ebook on Amazon. But I said, why don't you just put that on the site for free? And they said, well, the business it's not a nonprofit where they're getting funding. It can fund it if it generates funds, more can be done. If they generate funds from the business, more can be put into the business. It can help more communities, more ads to show people what to do. So that's all that would do, but it has to be self-sustaining. You can't just be begging people for money, trying to have a business, and then you can't even get it off the ground. So it's a low threshold of what it need. Yeah, if it had a lot of economics, just think of what it would do. What if it had millions of dollars? Just think of what kind of community stuff it would do. Because this is being done for almost like very low, bare bones budget that's to maintain and sustain this. But we did, get some things done. And as I said, so they put that out. Again, the book is called Unlock the Physical Fitness Expert Within You. That's by Ishmael Eel. 3 easy steps to start a digital fitness influencer business and change your life. So that's let me see, it's like 258 pages. I mean, it's an ebook, so I guess it scrolls. But they just came with something that was just had a stamp on it, where you could see some significance in them being serious about what they was doing. Not just talking about it, but showing and setting that pace and setting that example. And in the book, what they talk about is what I liked about it is they break down how like the origins of fitness, because fitness influencer, they had it back then. It's not new just because it's now online. Because if you really look at it, Arnold Schwarzenegger and them was fitness influencers. So it's not like it's a new idea. But the point of the premise of the book is this too. When you look at the early day, there was someone, he was from Rochester, New York, Vic Tanny. He started one of the earliest physical fitness gyms, a modern luxury gym. He started that back, if I'm correct, in like the 1930s. Crazy, right? Like 1930s, 1940s. He was back then. And he started a gym in his garage. I think he became a school teacher. Then he moved out to California, and this is when he was like early 20s. He might have been earlier than that when he started he might have been in high school practically when he started that gym. Then he moved out to California, Vic Tanny, and then he made up franchise gyms. So this was before like a lot of the names. Obviously, Gold's Gym was early. That was out in California in Santa Monica. And that was before you go to Venice Beach, where you have like the Gold's Gym and Venice Beach gyms of today. That all came from the fitness movement, from the muscle movement, where it was a lot of gymnasts and people used to be just like they do now in Cali, be on the beach lifting weights. That started out there. And one of the pioneers back then, predating some of them as well, was Jack LaLanne. Jack LaLanne had the longest running TV show in the history of television, even today. From like he had like a 20-30 year run TV show of his fitness, the Jack LaLanne Show. So national show. So he also started a franchise of gyms early on. And like back then, you have the Weider Empire, which is called Muscle and Fitness. Joe Weider and his brother, and they're responsible for Mr. Olympia, Miss Olympia. He passed on. The company still exists, and someone purchased the company. But my point is, these were empires of fitness way back then. So now people should humble themselves. Be humble that you got a nice little, following on your social media, and you got a million followers. These dudes had 1 million subscriptions on the magazines they started. These dudes had products and supplements that they had out back then when it wasn't even popular. Fitness wasn't a global phenomenon. They made it that way. Joe Weider, Vic Tanny, and Jack LaLanne. So that's the premise of the book, explaining how these dudes were influencers. They were creators. They were inventing machinery and some of the techniques that are used. That's how far they went. So don't just have the camera in the mirror and taking a selfie, and look at that as though that's the only level you can go to. There's unlimited levels of success that can be reached in fitness. So this is for the sisters. This is when Pac said, "Sister, this is dedicated to the sisters." That's when he said, "What are the brothers going to do for the sisters?" And this ain't just inner city. This is inner city. This is country town. This would go to the Appalachian Mountains. This would go to the inner cities of Detroit, Chicago, Los Angeles. Well, health is wealth. That's what it would be. So that's what made this a powerful move, and don't nobody even know about it. But it's only going to grow. So if the people say, well, we need to get this book and get that going, yeah, and that's going to make it build. But it's what it is right now, because someone can see it. It's right there. If they can take it where they go as is. They can go to empowermentforthepeople.com. It's self-contained. They ain't got to buy the book. We told them what the 3 steps were to start the business. Now, of course, there's some details that's in the book that ain't, on the website, because it's only a website. So we didn't put everything. And as I said, but we just gave you the gist of the theory of who the people were to know about. Even when you talk about the book Pumping Iron, the documentary Pumping Iron, and the emergence of Arnold Schwarzenegger's career. Arnold Schwarzenegger was selected as a bodybuilder from Europe when he came to the States. He began winning. He had the physique, he had the personality, and he was chosen to be the face of bodybuilding at one point. You know, you had Lou Ferrigno from Brooklyn, New York, who became the Incredible Hulk on the TV show, The Incredible Hulk with Bill Bixby. You know, so, you know, these were explosions in fitness before it took off. It took off in the 1980s. By the 1980s, and then Arnold Schwarzenegger coming into Hollywood, and he became Conan the Barbarian. This all come from weightlifting. He became a star, Terminator. All that was bodybuilding and weightlifting and fitness, and from the fitness business. So what I'm saying is what's being done now, people, they get a Instagram, they get a social media, and they stop and they just train there. But the way it went, these people, I mean, Arnold Schwarzenegger went on to be the governor of California. And that all came from fitness. So what we're reiterating and saying, and our people know about, and what they said, we're going to bring this through these people in the book. And that's what they did. They showed the full possibilities, which people may not know. They may not know how you got, and it was some people that they forgot to put in the book, which wasn't a problem because it was still written and broken down from the level from Jack LaLanne, because Jack LaLanne became Bally's. So I forget the individual's name. His name might have been Bill Wildman. He just passed away. His actual name was Wildman, Bill Wildman, if I'm correct. But he was the one who had Bally's, and Bally's purchased Jack LaLanne. And then what happened when Bally's stopped back in the early, like this, maybe the mid 2012, 14, 15, when they kind of went out of business, they sold to 24-Hour Fitness, and then they diverted other customers to LA Fitness. So it's, you know, but the empire had lasted that long in the fitness realm. So now the powerhouse with probably the most gems is LA Fitness, and there's others, Crunch, there's other franchises. But what I'm saying is they got physical locales, not just a web page. Physical locales and franchises, and that could be something you could do, or you could do something bigger and equal to that, or starting from those three factors that you do. You get you three things: a cell phone, you get your email, and you got your social media presence, and you have to grow from there. You got to develop